Epic Universe has been announced. There's a lot of cool stuff, but what's Disney going to do to back up, what are they going to do to retaliate? Also, we're going to talk about Pixar Place Hotel for the last time and more tonight on ParksCenter. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to ParksCenter for February 4th, 2024. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside. Thank you guys. Thank you, as always, for being with us. We appreciate you. If you have not already, please subscribe to WDWNT TV for more great content. And also, please give us a thumbs up as it helps people to find us. And we've put together what I think is, I think, a good panel tonight. You guys be the judge. We'll start with Stephanie.
It's an epic panel, Rob. Epic.
Boom! Epic panel. Done. Yeah, I was like, I'm struggling in that intro. I'm like, retaliate? That's not really what they're going to do. They're going to, I don't know. It's going to be fine. Desi?
Be peace.
Okay. And Allie, how are you?
I'm great. Hopefully some magic will happen tonight.
Yeah. Sad news about Carl Weathers. Combat Carl. I can't believe I forgot he was Combat Carl. Carl Weathers passed away just a couple days ago. And Apollo Creed, and of course, Grief Karga from Mandalorian. So very sad news about that. He was an amazing actor and will be missed. And so, thoughts and prayers with his family. So let's start off, though, with a super chat. We have a super chat already. Nobody can dance like Shannon, but y'all can keep trying. Jungle Cruiser says, "Here's a pre-show super chat. I can't wait for the what stupid people did in the park segment. At the end of the year, ParksCenter should have an award show for the worst things done in the parks." You know what? You are not wrong. It has been an amazing year already, and we are just out of the gate, and we got a lot to talk about in the It Came From the Parks segment. That's going to come up real soon, but let's talk about epic stuff first. Of course, already out of the gate, Stephanie has said it's going to be an epic night. This week, here's the thing. Disney has been announcing all this stuff that may happen, could happen. We're thinking about it. It might be on the other side of Big Thunder. It may be something we're going to be doing to Dino Land. And yet, here we see that, Epic Universe has been under construction. They really haven't told us, other than like everybody who's like chasing down permits and watching everything, what's going to happen. And they finally came out, their version of Josh D'Amaro, which, can't hold a candle, I'm just saying. But he came out and he had this big speech where in this video where he's like, everybody always asks me, what's my favorite ride? I always tell them the next one. And I'm like, bum, bum, bum. But when they announced it, it's all the stuff we knew was happening. We have Super Nintendo World happening in Florida. We have the Ministry of Magic from the world of Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts. And then we have the monster area, which is going to be called Dark Universe, Universal Classic Monsters. And then also we have How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Berk. So they announced all that. They give us this cool fly-through video. I want to get from the panel, first impressions of what you guys have seen here and what you're excited about. We'll go clockwise and start with Stephanie. Have you already packed your bags? Are you ready to head out for Epic Universe?
Yes, 100%. I am so excited for this. It's going to be epic. Let's see how many times we can say that word tonight. So, but in all honesty, I thought that this was very well done. And you have to give it to Universal. They do it right. They don't say, could this happen? Blue sky, this might happen. Maybe if we, allow some funding to go through, you can get this or that. But like Disney does, and sort of tease it for the real true fans, like us who are on our phones every day trying to get updates. They wait until they have the stuff like done. I think it is Bio Reconstruct that's been doing the flyover aerial drone footage for the last year, really, and kind of getting everything done. And yeah, this looks amazing. I love their renderings. I went to their website, signed up for their emails. I'm there, man. I'm going to be on the list waiting for that Helios grand opening, hotel there.
Money. All right. That's fine. And by the way, if you have your dancing shoes on, we have another super chat. It's from Billy Batson 22, and it says, "Love this show. Hi to my fellow Star Wars fan, Disney Desi. Thank you so
Bright
much for the super
suns.
chat. Bright suns, indeed. Thank you, Billy Batson. Love that little Shazam action there. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's what I was talking about, Stephanie. Is like they really haven't said what's happening. I remember when the Velocicoaster was being built, we knew it was going to be called the Velocicoaster. Universal hadn't told us it was going to be called the Velocicoaster, and then it's like, hey, what's that thing that's almost done over there? And they're like, don't worry about it. It's nothing. It's fine. So, I mean, yeah, definitely something that's like, hey, you know what? There's something to that kind of a strategy. Allie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm excited for this. I mean, I don't go to Universal a lot, but I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, and all the Harry Potter stuff they've done there is excellent. So to do the Fantastic Beasts part of it, I think that's going to be really, really cool. When I first heard Ministry of Magic, it was like, I think that'll be neat, but then to do it in the time period, I think hopefully that'll look really, really good. And then obviously I love Nintendo, so hopefully Super Nintendo is a little bit different than here. And if we get any part of the Donkey Kong Country, like I am so there for that. So there for that.
Okay. Hey, let me ask you though. This is something like I've thought about with Star Wars. Is do you think it would have been better for them to put all of the Harry Potter stuff in one park? And I mean, you know, for
No.
them, their strategy wise, it makes a lot of sense. You're going to have to go to all three parks. Where's the Volcano Bay Harry Potter experience? They need to do that, so you got to go to all of them. But I mean, again, it's one of those things where we jokingly talk about people who are kind of outside the bubble of theme parks, and they say we're going to go to Harry Potter World, and they don't really know that it's that like to do that you have to go to Universal and experience the multiple parks to be able to get the Harry Potter stuff. So I don't know, just thought. Desi, thoughts?
I'm so sorry, but none of this excites me.
Oh,
Wow.
I know none of these IPs are exciting for me. I'm not a Harry Potter person, and for me, I'm like, why do they need another Harry Potter thing? No, thank you. I don't. I'm not into really any of these IPs. I
travesty.
feel terrible saying that. My kids, however, are super into Mario.
Yes.
And we were talking about maybe taking a day trip in our Tokyo trip later in the year and going out to Osaka and doing Super Mario World there. But then, we were like, oh, but it's coming here, so there's no need to take a day out of our vacation to do it. I have been boycotting Universal since they took away the greatest ride of all time, Back to the Future. It's probably going to pain me, but my kids are probably going to drag me to Epic Universe against my will. I am personally not excited about it, but I know my kids are. Sorry.
I'm looking for a spell to fix you. I don't understand who hurt you. There's got to be something here. I have no idea what's going on, but wow, that's blasphemy. I can't even believe you would say that.
I would say one more
let's say-
thing.
Nope.
Really quickly on the
Go ahead.
tunnels, right? So they're taking a page out of Galaxy's Edge, and they're saying, here, you're going into this new area. Instead of it being an island, it's going to be a tunnel that you go through. Okay, with the Mario, that makes sense, right? The Rainbow Road and everything, you go through that. But then when you enter Isle of Berk and you enter the Dark Universe, and so you're going to these different universes, it's like the multiverse all in one right there. It's pretty cool. And then, with the How to Train Your Dragon ride, I was going to say my theory is that's going to be very similar to Pandora Flight of Passage, where you get to, but it's screen based, but most of the rides at Universal are.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But so they're portals, is what they are. So you walk in,
Portals.
yeah. And some of the footage I was showing you, you come in through Celestial Park, which I think it's really kind of a ballsy move to introduce us to the one area that has no IP. Like they're like, hey, we've got this really cool place, and when you look at the maps, let me see if I can pull up the map real quick of the areas. But if you look at the map here of where they're showing Super Nintendo World, Dark Universe, Harry Potter, and Isle of Berk, it's all dark. Like it's all like blacked out. So they're like, yeah, what we really want you to pay attention to is this Celestial Park that we've announced in the middle. There's more in here than I thought there would be, and so it is kind of cool. It's like, it's not just a main street. It is its own area, its own themed land with a bunch of different things in it, but it's not IP. And then you have IP overload on the outskirts of this thing. So, I mean, I think it's interesting, the Celestial Park part of it. When we were watching this, and my wife's like, what I notice about this is it's very open. And I'm like, yeah, that's a good thing. And she's like, well, but like, it seems like there's a lot of space between this attraction and the next attraction or the next thing to do. And I'm like, oh, okay. I think it looks amazingly beautiful when I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this is a really cool fly through. I'm excited for this. They really just rolled it all out, and then Disney turned around and went, hey, we've got this like hotel overlay we're doing. You guys should check that out. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah, right. So let me ask you guys each, and we already know, like, I put this poll on my Twitter account, and I said, on opening day, which is the first land you're going to? And first person that like chimed in said, okay, I'm not going on opening day. I'm like, okay, like semantics. I just mean your first day into the park, first time you go, what is the land you're most excited for? And I was surprised at the answers I got, but I want to ask again. We'll go around clockwise. Stephanie, what was the land you were most excited about of these four?
I mean, like Desi, because of the children involved, I think the Super Nintendo World area. Well, and Donkey Kong, right? Because you've always played that game where you're in the minecart and you're jumping over the tracks. You're like, this would make a great roller coaster. Like, come on. So
okay, Nintendo. Yeah. And Allie?
Oh, Harry Potter for sure.
And Desi, obviously not Harry Potter. Where does your mind go?
Yeah. Also, I've
Nintendo?
never seen How to Train Your Dragon, so I would have no idea.
You
what
would
was
love
there.
it. You've got to watch it now.
Woo! You are just like racking them up tonight, aren't you?
I know. I'm so sorry.
So
I guess Super Nintendo.
Yeah. So when I was talking to my kids about this, my daughter was like Isle of Berk, and I was like, wait, what? Why? She's like, well, we went to Super Nintendo World in California, so we've kind of seen what that's going to be about. And then we already had Universal Monsters at Halloween Horror Nights, and we've already seen Harry Potter stuff in other parks. And so she's like, I've never seen How to Train Your Dragon Land. I've never seen anything like that. And I was like, oh, okay. Most people picked Dark Universe. I was surprised about that. Like, out of all of the lands, that was the one that was that most people said, and the least was Isle of Berk, honestly. So it should be exciting. So here's the $1 million question then, before we move on from this, is what is Disney going to do? And I think a lot of people have asked that question from the minute Epic Universe was announced. What's Disney going to do? They're going to open a fifth gate in Florida? Are they going to do something big? What are they going to do? And I think, honestly, it feels like Disney doesn't really care what happens over there, because they're like, isn't that adorable? They'll find some way to screw that up, like... Right, I mean, and if you think about it semantically, like, this isn't like a park hopper situation, because this park is separate from the other parks. It's further away from the other parks. So, eventually maybe Universal buys everything between where they are now and where Epic Universe will be. But it really, I guess, doesn't matter, Stephanie, if you're staying at Helios, which you probably will be every single time, instead of Disney. Maybe, I don't know. You're gonna sell that DVC? What are you gonna do? Do you think they should be retaliating?
No, but I do think that they need something new. I think that they have, well, let's be honest, they have a branding issue right now, and they need good press, and so they need something that people are getting excited about. And I think that people really were excited about expanding the Magic Kingdom because they need new stuff there, and they haven't really come through with that yet. So we'll see.
Okay, Allie, thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I agree with Stephanie. Like, they definitely need to expand the Magic Kingdom, and they need to finish all of this Epcot nonsense and just have that park be fully functional. I'm still on my horse about that.
Okay, and Desi?
I mean, if I'm being honest, Disney doesn't need to do anything to keep me there versus going to Universal. But yes, I would love to see them do anything new at all. Just for my own sake, but to keep me away from Universal, they don't need to do anything. Whatever they have at Disney, I already love more than Epic Universe.
Wow. Wow. You know what? I hope that we can save this archival footage for someday when your kids are dragging you to Epic Universe and you have an annual pass and you're just there every weekend, and we can go, remember that time where you were like, I don't like anything that's there. I don't really need to go. It is
I'll
very
have to change my Instagram handle to Universal Desi.
Yes. It is, but
right.
it's Desi is Universal. I just think it's one of those things where they have all of these they're very big IPs that they have, but they're also very specific. And to the point of view, Desi, it's like that's not something that you're interested in doing, is going to a Harry Potter land or the Isle of Berk or any of those things. So obviously, I mean, they're going to have to be a little bit more targeted, in something to get you there. And the other thing is and I don't know if you guys feel this way, a lot of times with Universal Parks, it seems like you can't really take little kids to the two parks because there's not much for little kids to do in the existing two parks, and it doesn't look like we're going to get much better at the new one either, because everything looks roller coaster. Like when you look at it from, as you guys mentioned, the Bio Reconstruct, everything looks like it's roller coasters left and right. So leave the little ones at Magic Kingdom with Dad while you guys go, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Leave them at Magic Kingdom with me.
And they target they target the teens. They're like, this is your rite of passage to go to Universal. And then after that, it's one of those parks where I love so many of the attractions at Universal, but I don't need to just go in and spend my entire day there. Whereas at Epcot, I could go in and spend the entire day there and not even necessarily get on any attractions and still have a great day. There's something about that Disney vibe that they still, I feel like, haven't bottled yet and been able to get. And maybe Epic Universe will bring that to the table. We'll have to wait and see. The final question I have, and I guess it's the question that a lot of people are going to have, is what does that annual pass structure look like now? Because they pretend that Volcano Bay is their third gate, which, then I guess Typhoon Lagoon and Blizzard Beach gives us 6, and over down the street. But when they're talking about the annual pass system, obviously they're going to have to restructure and add this other thing to it, and it's going to be a little bit messier because I don't feel like we've seen that necessarily happen in Disney in the past. Maybe they just raise the rate or whatever, but it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. We don't have the answers to that, but we'll keep an eye on it and see. Let's talk about the huge Disney announcement this week in comparison. I can no longer, Allie, call it the Paradise Pixar Pier Place Hotel. Because it's officially the Pixar Place Hotel, and they had a huge opening celebration for it in California, and we had, I think Tom was out there for the big opening of it. And
yes.
honestly, when I looked at the grand opening festivities, this was a pretty big deal. I mean, they brought out Ken, they had Pete Docter out there, and all the characters were out there. But I mean, they drove Lightning McQueen and Mater over there for the big grand opening. I mean, it feels like they really did it up for this, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They did a really good job. Bing Bong made his debut. Let's just take a moment for that. That is so exciting. And then they also had Joe Gardner, is now there playing in the afternoons and evenings. So yeah, they had a huge to-do and party. They unveiled the statue with the lamp and the ball, and it looks really, really good. The outside of the hotel is still not great. But the inside, I feel like they did as much as they could with what they had to work with. It does feel way more Disney now, and I feel like they actually did a pretty good job. Tom stayed there. He stayed in a one room and then upgraded to a suite for one night. I know, fancy. And he had nothing but positive things to say. The room looks great. The little touches and the Easter eggs they put in the rooms looks amazing. And everybody just seems to be commenting that hotel now seems worth the money to actually stay there. Oh my, yeah, the lamp is so cute. Yeah.
I mean, that's, I think, still going to be on the fence of, is it worth the $500, $400 to $500 a night to stay there? It is.
None of those
definitely
hotels are, but yeah.
Right. It is definitely better,
Right.
but I mean, I love that it has its own gate when you go across the street to get through.
Yeah.
But but yet they won't let you through the Grand Californian one unless well, you already know how that works. But let's talk about Bing Bong for a second. So Bing Bong is exclusively at the hotel. So that is very cool to me that you can meet Bing Bong over there. And then you talked about Joe playing piano. This is pretty darn cool. I mean, I love that,
Yeah,
like
super
the
cool.
satchel by the side there. I'm pretty sure he doesn't bring it in and set it down. I assume that that's pretty much bolted there. But here's my question though. I'm gonna throw this to you, Stephanie. Do you think you will stay there now, or once you get to stay there, do you think that all this stuff will still be there, or do you think Joe's not going to show up anymore and Bing Bong maybe not around anymore?
Well, I hope that Bing Bong is still there, and I hope Joe is still tickling those ivories. But I don't know that he might be taking more breaks. Who knows? But no, I probably will forego that one because a DVC, I'm going to try to get into the beautiful Sleeping Beauty suites over at Disneyland Hotel. That's where I want to stay.
Wow. Just making it rain wherever you go.
You gotta use those points.
I love that there's a specialty merchandise for the hotel. That's not new, but I mean, it looks pretty cool. The fact that it's Pixar merchandise and that there is specialty merchandise for that, I think is neat. The one last thing that I want to ask you, Allie, before we move on, is this thing has been under construction for 19 years, 20? How many years has it been
This
under
hotel has had an
construction?
identity crisis forever. Yeah.
No, but it's been at least a year or two that it's all been under construction because I know
Yeah,
this
I
because
want to
I've
say
stayed
about
there.
a year. Yeah.
And then already there's like not everything is open yet. There's going to be these signature suites for Coco and the Incredibles opening later in 2020. Really? Really? Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
We couldn't get these ready in time?
Nope. We could not.
Save something back. Hold something back.
And then the hotel pool thing is not open yet either.
Oh
The
yeah?
restaurant. Yeah.
The
The
Small
hotel
Bites?
restaurant is opening in March. Yeah, that opens in March.
Small Bites is not open?
Correct.
Man, I feel like I've been lied to. Um, yeah, I don't know. But also the last thing is that there's club level, which is kind of neat. There's a lot of little artifacts
This
and
looks
things.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, at the club level. So, again, maybe this is enough to entice Stephanie to come and bring her family next time if they've got a club level. Who knows?
Yeah,
Um,
gotta sneak us in.
All right, let's move on. Wishables, this is so funny to me, and I put the return of my nightmare because when Wishables started, I was all about Wishables. Literally have more than anyone else at WDWNT, more than Tom Corliss, and I'm not trying to brag. It's a sad fact. And so if you don't know what Wishables are, they were these little bags of blind packs, and when they first came out, they were $9.99 each, and when they stopped, they were like $16.99 each. And I believe they stopped probably in July. I was going back and looking in July of last year. Pinocchio was the
That
last
sounds
set
right,
that they
yeah.
had. Yeah, Allie and I were kind of like, I know her friend was really into it as well, and so she helped me to track down one of the rat mobiles from the Remy set. But I mean, the whole idea, like cast members were getting into it, and you could see them. Like if I would go over to them and start, like it says squeeze me, and so like I would start doing that, and people, if I was doing that, a cast member would come over and go, I could tell you which one that is, and it's like, okay, all right, sorry, well, good, because you can save me $16.99 for buying the wrong one. They look like this. They're kind of silly, but the cool thing to me about Wishables is they were about attractions, and so that was the neat thing. And some of them were like a little like on the edge, like the Snack Series 1 and 2, and the Princess, which I guess was supposed to be like the meet and greet princesses. It wasn't really a thing, but they had them for Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, and so they're coming back. And the first set's going to be another Guardian set? Like, that seems a little weird to me, but look at the freaking adorable Guardian ship. I mean, come on. Hello.
Yeah.
Like,
It's the happiest
that's
ship I've
kinda
ever
neat.
seen.
It is. It's so happy. And let me ask you a question, Desi, because I know that there were at least two Star Wars sets. There was one for Smuggler's Run and one for Star Tours. Did you get any of these things?
No. No, because unless it's something that my children can see what's inside the package, then they aren't going to ask for it. However, I do recall spending what felt like 30 minutes while you sat there in Hollywood Studios feeling every single package that they had.
That was actually, wait, stop. That was actually the Pinocchio set, by the way. That was the last set. You were there for the last shopping experience that I had. Oh my gosh. And you know what? You should be grateful. I hope you journaled about it at the end of the night, because that was an amazing thing to see me in action doing that. Lucky you is all I can say for that one.
I do feel lucky.
Yeah. Stephanie, thoughts on these before we get out of here?
We have a few. I'm like you, Rob. I like that they do them about the attractions, and I think that it would be really cool if they did some for the hotels and that kind of thing. I think making it park specific, attraction specific is where you need to go, not just generic.
Yeah. I love that in the chat they said, Desi is in a mood tonight.
Apparently. Sorry.
But so the funny thing is, like, I go on these waves with these things. There were Tsum Tsums, and I got those for my daughter, and I say for my daughter, I got some for me too. I'm not going to even cover up on that one. And then there was like the next ones were, I can't even remember the name of them. I want to say it was like umamis or something like that, but I can't remember the name of whatever they were. And they were like really soft, and I was like, I didn't get on that. And then the Wishables came in. I'm like, I'm not getting in on that, but then I did, and then went overboard. Even during COVID, I had to buy them from Shop Disney, so I'd buy too many because I was like, all right, I have to have the entire Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs set. Sorry, I have to have the whole thing. And then Munchlings came out, and I was like, nah. So I was actually relieved that I didn't have to participate, and now. They're coming back, so let's get in on that. I did not have my wedding at Disney World. I don't think any of us, nobody on here had a Disney wedding. Is that correct?
Well, I did, but it was under the radar.
Proposal, but not a wedding.
Under the
I had
radars.
wedding photos at Aulani. Does that count?
Under the radar.
Ooh.
You know what? I feel like there was another blogger who was trying to get married at like Universal, and he kept running around to different places trying to find a place where they wouldn't kick him out, because I feel like a lot of people have that thing. And obviously, if they're putting a price on it, then they feel like there's a value to it, and you can't like give it away for free if like to everybody if other people are paying a lot of money for it. So they've got, now that they've fixed up most of World Celebration, they're like, you know what we should do here? We should have a party. And so they've got a new wedding venue here at in front of Spaceship Earth. And then there's also a new 2024 Princess Wedding Gowns collection, and then a Cinderella Platinum coach at Disneyland. So, Stephanie, the one thing that we said before the show was you said you had thoughts about this and having your wedding in front of Spaceship Earth. Share your thoughts.
Yes, so this makes sense because this is a park icon, and they've been doing weddings in the whole World Showcase, for years now. I personally think that would be cooler to me to do that, but if you love Spaceship Earth, then by all means. I just don't like it being right in front of that planter, and leave that to the imagination. I deal with human anatomy on the daily basis, and I don't know, it's not my idea, but maybe put some flowers around it or something, or you're just getting ready for the honeymoon. But I think that's the problem. And I like that they can I didn't start that, Rob. It's a viral thing anyway.
This show is out of control.
Personally, I would want to do the castle. If I'm spending that much money, I would just go and I would do the whole shebang in front of the castle. But if you love, the nighttime awakenings on the Tree of Life, and you do your wedding in Pandora because of the bioluminescence, and so this is kind of that in that same field with the lighting on the Spaceship Earth, and they can change it to match your wedding colors and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's just put some plants or something in front of that planter.
Put some plants in front of the planter. Well, Ronald was in chat saying, how much is this? I don't think we listed a price on the blog, but if you go to DisneyWeddings.com, I'm sure they'll be happy to give you a ballpark figure as to what this might cost. I was also looking in the chat here. I think it was Disney Sparkle said, not a wedding at Disney, but a Disney themed wedding. I feel like most of us had some. Like I had the Mickey and Minnie cake topper on our wedding cake. So, I mean, I feel like most of us had some other kind of tie-in with that. I was super jealous of my nephew who he and his wife had a very Star Wars themed wedding, and it was very well done. It wasn't like in your face. He didn't like ride in on an X-Wing or something like that. But it was, it was pretty neat the way it was done. Desi's like, my vow renewals. My vow renewals.
If you're interested, you can go back in our archives and watch an Ink and Paint episode about this, because Miss Shannon and Miss Allison both had their weddings at Disney.
Gotcha. I was trying to do.
I don't like this.
Of course.
But anyway, let's change to what has become my favorite topic, or our segment that we do, called It Came from the Parks, because again, the way this started is every week it seems like there are more crazy stories from the parks. There's a couple of weeks ago where the 70-year-old woman bit her slightly younger sister, and there was an elderly couple who were like fighting for a parade spot. I mean, so many fun stories. It's hard to pick one. So I'm going to make you guys pick one, though. Tonight we only have two options, but I feel like they're pretty good. It's actually one of the reasons that Desi's here tonight, so I already know what she's going to pick. But let's talk about the two things from It Came from the Parks here. So the first story, and again, we're going to go around. I'm going to talk about both of the stories, and then we're going to go around and let each of you guys pick one to talk about. You can pick the same one if you want to, but here we go. So the first one is, a guest climbs from the People Mover at Magic Kingdom by herself. I was calling this a self-serve evac is what this was. I mean, it feels like anyway. The second one, and maybe the more exciting one, is guest jumps from Tom Sawyer Island raft, refuses to swim ashore at Magic Kingdom. And again, the longer the title, usually the more interesting the story, right? So because it was so important to her, we're going to go counterclockwise this time, and I'm going to start with Desi, because I feel like you said that this one, you broke this story. Is that true?
I did.
Were you on the raft?
Yeah.
Were you on the raft?
No, I wasn't on the raft. I happened to see the photo while I was scrolling through Facebook, and I sent it into our Slack channel, and they're like, oh yeah, reach out to her and ask if we can use the photo. So I did, and she said yes, but she didn't want to be quoted because of all the crazy people on the internet. But yeah, so I was really proud of myself that I got to break this story. But from what it sounds like, this guy may or may not have jumped. He may have been sitting where he shouldn't and accidentally fallen off. And there are conflicting reports about whether he had special needs and that's why he refused to swim to the side. I don't know. All I know is whether he jumped or he fell, that is some yucky water, and I would not want to be in it. I'd be worried about brain-eating amoebas, gators, the Liberty Bell boat coming and running me over. Just nothing about that seems like a good idea. So I hope they were able to get him out as quickly as possible.
There could be sunken keel boats in there. There could be, honestly, not long ago, they drained the whole thing. I feel like it was right after COVID that they drained the entire rivers of America and did some maintenance and then filled it up again, which is a sad thing to see, honestly. And I know that, Allie, you guys had to deal with that empty out at Disneyland for like 18 months while they rerouted for Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. But I also remember at some point, and I don't know if I made this up, but I feel like I heard somebody say that one time when they drained it, they found like a full commode just in there that somebody had dropped. So you never know. I mean, what better place to lose a body than the rivers of America, I guess. So anyway, Allie, which story are you in for?
I'm gonna go with that one as well, just because I'm the opposite of Desi. Like, I'm a lifelong swimmer, and that's my full-time job is working with swimmers. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to swim in all the Disney water. So I always joke that like when I want to go out, I want to go into the
Oh my
lagoon
God.
here with submarines, and like that is gonna be my like obviously it'll be my last day on Disney property, but that is the way that I would like to
Wait,
go out.
I just need to make sure this wasn't you. Now that I'm like thinking of it. No,
No,
okay,
that was
all right,
not me, but I'm
okay,
actually
cool.
low key, so I want to go. All jokes aside, like they're okay, and the situation could have been way worse than what happened. So
Yeah.
thankfully, they were a good enough swimmer that they, nobody had to go in. But that's something I did as a little kid. Like I was in a pool, and my dad wanted to leave, and I refused to get out of the pool. And they kept like telling me we had to go, and he'd like come and walk to one side, and I'd swim to the other side, and that went on for a while. So I don't know. This person feels like my spirit animal. So
I think there are a lot of Disney families that keep their kids interested a little bit. Maybe I don't know. They go, well, my kid wants to slide on every slide at Disney, or my kid wants to go into every pool at every resort, and that's their goal. Which apparently the parents, I
yeah.
feel like, incepted that goal into them so that they could stay at every place. Get the All Stars, get them all. But maybe if have you swam in all of the pools at this point, Allie? And is that why your new
No, but
goal
now
is
that you
this?
said that, I have a new
Oh
goal,
no.
but I'm gonna need Stephanie to get a nice hotel. I can
Yeah.
get a nice hotel.
We'll hook you up.
Club. I can check that one off the list.
Yup. There you go. Okay. All right. So, Stephanie, I mean, we going 3 for 3, or which one are you going for?
Sure. Let's say bears and gators and snakes. Oh my, I would not be in that water.
That's it?
That's it. Oh,
Yeah.
I can say this about the evac. Don't evac yourself. I think that's just stupid, but I understand people wanting to be
Yeah.
evacuated on, like you said, Allie, like that's a goal, right? Like to be evacuated when the lights come on and you get out. I have been evacuated on Splash Mountain before, got to walk through those sets.
Yep.
But yeah, no, you don't want to do it. You just don't. It's dangerous and don't do it.
You know what's so funny about that? It's like when you're sitting in traffic and everybody's sitting there and somebody decides, oh, the shoulder would be a much faster way to get there. I'll just pass by everybody to get through the shoulder. And you think to yourself, oh, you know what? I did want to sit in this traffic. Please, I'm sure you have somewhere important to be. I wanted to sit here. That's why I'm here. Not because I'm trying to like obey the rules and do everything else. So I think a lot of people are like, oh man, I had that dinner res, I'm just going to get up and leave. I'm going to take all of my kids out of the Small World boat and put them into the set, and we're going to be out of here. I feel like it's an epidemic, and it's something that maybe I'm just too much of a rule follower. I
Yeah.
would never do that. I would never do that. Even when it
I
was
think
like, go ahead, Stephanie.
oh no, I was just gonna say the only exception would be if you had explosive diarrhea.
What is good Lord and butter? Okay, all right. Let's move on to the next thing. Let's talk about the Starcruiser. And honestly, let's just start some rumors here. I was on the Starcruiser. Desi was on the Starcruiser. Stephanie was in the Starcruiser. Allie, we'll talk about Magic Happens later. So when one of the things that came up this week was that the Starcruiser has they've filed a construction permit for the Galactic Starcruiser. And for those of you who are not familiar with the tragic story of Darth Starcruiser, is that there was you like that? That there was this thing called the Starcruiser for like 18 months, and it was a lot of hype, and they opened it up and we went on it and it was great, and it was like it was way too expensive, but if you got on to the thing you understood why it was why it cost so much, because they spared no expense on there. And then it closed down last year, September 30th of last year, and now they're trying to figure out what's going to happen. Josh Damaro has told us that things will happen there. Well, I mean, a bulldozer is things happening. I mean, I'm not wrong there, right? Like, so
You.
I'm just saying things, like if we're talking about
Speak
things
it.
happening. But before we go around and kind of get some impressions of this, the other thing that happened is that Anthony Daniels, the original C-3PO, said that he had actually filmed some scenes of C-3PO before the Starcruiser closed. And we don't even know that that's the picture of him filming it. We just know that's him in a mocap suit, and we're connecting the dots. No pun intended there. And so he said it was something that he filmed, but he signed an NDA and can't actually say anything about it. But it was one of the most fun things that he's done. So we don't know if that was a Hail Mary, that they're like, if we throw C-3PO and R2-D2 into this, maybe people will come, or if it was something planned for the next iteration. We're not sure. And then the final little piece of the puzzle, which really isn't about this, but is that they've started this private shoot in Galaxy's Edge, and the Capture Your Moment is now at the area where the Starcruiser would drop you off at Batuu and pick you up. So, this seems counterintuitive to something new coming. And Desi, I'm going to go to you first because I feel like you're a little bit more passionate about this thing.
I'm still salty about the ribbons being cut off, but the Anthony Daniels thing, I'm like, oh my God, how cool would it have been? Because he was doing mocap, obviously they weren't expecting a real C-3PO to be there and just using his voice. So I was wondering if maybe he would have been like in that kind of tube thing in the atrium where they projected Yoda, and he might have been, or he could have been like a hologram with a message for Rey, or I don't know. I'm just like, oh my goodness, that would have been so amazing to have C-3PO there. When that photo was taken and he posted it on his Instagram, like you said, we don't know if that was actually him filming it for this. But that was before the Starcruiser opened, so I don't think that it was something that they were like, oh, we're going to try this out and add it in later. So with that, I was thinking maybe C-3PO was going to be the original version of D3. I don't know. I couldn't figure out any other way other than in that tube in the atrium or instead of D3. And then they decided they didn't have enough from him and they needed somebody new.
Yeah, no, I agree. So it's a mystery. We don't really know. But like I said, let's start some rumors tonight. I'm gonna throw it to Stephanie in a second, but I do want to comment. Lisa said in the chat, she said, do we not believe in Josh D'Amaro anymore? No. He has my heart forever. But again, he was not clear on what it would be. He just said something will happen. That's where I was going with that one. Stephanie, what are your thoughts here?
I don't fully blame Josh D'Amaro. I feel like he is being handicapped, so to speak, for some of these decisions by the higher ups. They're just kind of nixing it and saying, no, we're not going to spend money on this and that. So, but he's the face. So, if you're going to get mad at somebody, that's who to get mad at. I think, here's my rumor, I'm going to start that. I think that they're going to bring it back and they're going to do a switch out and they're going to have the Kylo and Rey saga play out, on a cruise, so to speak, and then like a week or two later, they're going to have the original. Let's make it Han and Leia's honeymoon, because that's where they supposedly had their honeymoon. So let's pull it back to that, and then at the end, you could have Luke and Darth Vader come out and do the same exact battle sequence at the very end that Kylo and Rey do, and it would still work, and you could have R2-D2 and C-3PO and all those guys. So
I love
Say
it.
freaking less. I mean, I am. Let's do
I'm
it.
in.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Take my money.
I mean, people have been texting me, asking me how much to buy my house. I can just sell it and I'll just go and just do that, and for the rest of my life. Like, the opportunity is right here. I'll just do that. It'll be like, following like Taylor Swift, only it'll just be, I'll just the Starcruiser every week. That's all I'm going to be doing. All those things sound great. I love it. And again, we're going to hold all of Allie's comments till magic happens. Let's talk about the lightsaber building, because I find this to be very interesting, believe it or not, is that they brought back the build your own lightsaber experience at Disney Hollywood Studios after almost 4 years. When you would get off of Star Tours, Tatooine Traders has been very sad, I feel like, without this feature, because they took so much real estate for this, and also the photo thing. I don't think they still do that. but there was so much real estate in that store for this, and there was a thing, again, I think you guys talked about it before COVID, and when that happened, the last thing you would want to do is go into a big bin of plastic things that little kids have been putting their hands on and just go in there with it. So I think that it was probably the right thing to do during COVID, but now I feel like it's something that probably should be back. At the same time, there's another thing called Savi's, and at Savi's you get a whole experience where you go in and you build a lightsaber. I can't imagine how it would be if a little kid thought like he was getting Savi's, and then you schlepped him into the back of Tatooine Traders and made him pick out some plastic. I don't know. One of them's $29 and one of them is $220. So Desi, which one are you starting with your boys?
I wish I knew this was coming back earlier, because my son just turned 3. He's getting his annual pass for the first time next weekend, and so we are taking him to Droid Depot for his birthday. And I can't just buy one droid. Now I have to have 2 droids. So now I'm spending $200 so he can build his own droids, because I don't trust them to have the Savi's lightsabers yet. 3 and 4 is not quite old enough to handle the legit lightsabers. And then we had also got them regular plastic lightsabers for Christmas. And I'm like, well, dang, if I knew this was happening, I could have saved so much money. We wouldn't have bought them the plastic lightsabers, and we could have done this instead of the Droid Depot. So I wish I knew it was coming back sooner, because I would have done that next weekend instead of Droid Depot. But
you could have chosen your own
Disney's
destiny.
probably happy because they're just getting more of my money.
This thing used to be, there was a store called Once Upon a Toy. It's still there, but it's a shadow of what it used to be at Disney Springs. It used to be amazing. If you get in your Wayback Machine and you get to go back to this time in the world when Universal had a DeLorean attraction, and when Once Upon a Toy was a really, sorry, too soon? When Once Upon a Toy, it was multiple places, multiple storefronts, and you would go through, and they had a big princess castle. And this is the first place I ever saw the whole box your own Mr. Potato Head parts, and also the make your own lightsaber part was in there. And then they shut part of it down for the Void. Again, we talked about the Void before, RIP the Void.
Again, too soon.
I know, right? And so it's just it gets worse. But that's the first place I saw this, and it made sense to put it here. But it's it seems a little confusing when you've got Savi's, and then you've also got this, and this is like I said, it's build your, it's like Savi's Junior. Do we have something, Allie, like this in California that's been open the whole time?
It hasn't been open the whole time, but yeah, it came to Star Traders a while ago, and then they also have it at Trading Post in downtown Disney, so you don't even have to go into the park here. But yeah, it's been back for a while here.
It's been back. How ironic! It took California almost 2 years to reopen Disneyland, and yet they're like, "Oh, you want to make a lightsaber? No problem. Here's the pieces." So anyway, let's move on to this. This is a point of contention, I think, for a lot of us when we go in to Disney parks or Universal parks and we get searched. I feel like they're finally catching up at Disneyland, and we've talked about how sometimes Disneyland and Disney World operate very differently. Yeah, exactly. But they have these, the walkthrough scanners now at Disney, and when they first tried these out at Disney Springs didn't even have security, and now it's never left. So they try them out, and you could go through, and then they have the little iPad, and they go, sorry, you've got to go over here, and then they search your bag manually. And it looks like what they're trying to do is something very similar to what they do at Universal, where they put it through an X-ray machine. So I'm assuming that the test is you walk through, they catch whether you need to be searched or not, and then they would take you and put you through an X-ray machine. Now, if that's the case, if I can avoid the X-ray machine if I don't have a bag, but then if I do have a bag, then you can go more quickly than you're going now, that would be great, because I feel like that process, whenever I feel like I keep losing the lottery every time I walk through, and they're like, "Oh, your bag." I'm like, "What is it now? I don't even know." It's just very frustrating. So, Allie, you were rolling your eyes when I said they're catching up at Disneyland. What do you think about this?
No, we're
And
not.
what's wrong at Disneyland?
Well, Disneyland, they still manually search our bags every time, and then you have to put your bag down, and then you walk through the X-ray machine, or not X-ray machine, metal detector, and it's still a very painstaking process. Like they even did it on when we did the run Disney runs a few weeks ago, 30 minutes to get into an area as they searched the runner, who then immediately left the calls to run on the street. So I don't even get me started on that. They fixed it the second day, but Florida, I feel like I'd have Florida finally figured out. Like I hardly ever get pulled, but I do see those lines get really backed up, and I think it would be way quicker if you can just shove your thing in an X-ray machine and not have to wait for the cast member to open every single pocket. And I don't know what people are bringing into the parks. Why do you need so much stuff? It's a lot.
I love that you use the expression. I hardly ever get pulled. I hardly ever get pulled. Like it's like, okay, yeah, like they just
they pull you
put 'em-
over, right? Like yeah, they
I
do
know.
that, and they.
But I mean, where would you like to, like, the happiest place on earth? I got pulled over. I don't know. It just seems a little bit weird. Stephanie, again, you probably come in with like 19 diaper bags, and I'm sure you've been flagged more than one time. I can just picture you holding out like glass cases and umbrellas and all this kind of stuff when you're going through. What do you think about all this?
100%. But if you have the umbrellas and the eyeglass cases and all of that stuff, you can leave it in the stroller, and they visually look at it and they push the stroller off to the side, and then you walk through. I still have to hold my bag, but I can put all of those things that usually flag me into the stroller. So that's a little neat trick there. But yeah, I'm shocked. I'm assuming that they're going to keep these, single pass through scanners or whatever they're called. I'm not sure exactly what brand they are, because we were in Washington D.C. about a week and a half ago, and all of the Smithsonians use these now. So I would be shocked if Disney goes back to the old technology and makes everybody walk through old school metal detectors and X-ray machines. I think it's probably, like you said, for the secondary screening purpose.
I hope so. Because that's the thing at Universal is it feels very not
Old.
vacation-y. I'm just going to say when you go through.
TSA.
I would agree.
Yeah, it does. It feels like TSA only, not even that nice. Like when you go through, because
TSA.
yeah, exactly.
No,
Because and again,
sketchy TSA.
I mean, I'm glad. Let me just stop and say I'm glad that they're keeping us safe. But it just a lot of that time it's like I would wish I knew what was going through, because you were talking about bags. Like this is my bag when I go into the park. There's like 900 buckles and everything. I can't help that. I can't help that. I try to go in with as least stuff as possible, and I still get pulled over when I go through. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry, you had 2 fuel rods and they were sitting side by side. That's what set it off. Or, you had 3 collectible pins you were going to trade, then that set it off. It's like, okay, so what's not going to set it off? I don't know. I hope this helps move things through, because that is very frustrating when you get there and you don't necessarily account for it. You account for transportation, and then you account for like getting into the park, but you don't always account for like the body cavity search. So just put it. Speaking of magic happens, this parade, I freaking love this parade. The Todrick Hall song.
Yeah.
I cannot freaking get that out of my head. And it's great. Like it was literally on Spotify. My most listened to song of 2023 was "Magic Happens." Yeah,
It's epic.
Magic happens. Magic happens. So when I love this parade, and the first time I ever saw it, I was with Allie, and she was like, "Up, I got you. We're gonna get the best spot in the place." Since we didn't let you talk about Starcruiser, do you want to talk about how much you love Magic Happens and that it's back?
I do. Yeah, I'm really, really happy they brought this back. Since Wondrous isn't coming back quite as quickly, but it's an amazing parade. It's just really well done. I think there were a couple minor changes, a few costume tweaks here or there, but and they fixed the final float. But yeah, it's just a wonderful parade. Like you can come in at the last minute, grab a good spot, and it's fantastic. If you have not seen it, it is worth going. So
And it's
good.
got
Oh,
Merlin.
Merlin's great. Yeah, Merlin
Yeah.
dances. It all happens. It's great.
Magic happens. You can reach for the stars
Magic
in broad
does
daylight.
happen during that parade.
In the Coco, did they bring back the big puppet for the Coco scene? Pepita?
That was not on the list of things that were changed. So yeah, I think he was back.
Gotcha. Because when you and I saw it, he wasn't there. So
Right, and then they changed it to that thing where it walks. So he's like the person's on the bike underneath it, so that it's
oh,
not
gotcha.
as like intricate, so that it can be used almost every day.
Yep, got it.
Except today, it did happen.
Stephanie, did you have a prop? Did I miss a prop?
No,
Oh,
my cup.
oh, okay. I thought your cup had something to do with Magic Happens because she's talking about Magic
Cups.
Happens and you're like I have a thing. I have a thing to talk about here. And I've seen this parade 2 or 3 times in a day, and it's never enough for me. And our good friend Arlo, who is out
Yeah.
there with you, he he records every one of them, I think, and
Yeah, every
the
day, both parades. Yeah, it's
yep. Um,
yeah.
and he's like, I'm trying to remember what he said. It was like, he was like, "Let's go, rope!" Like the rope at the end. Like he's
Yes.
excited about rope. He's
Yeah.
like, "Let's go, rope! Let's go!"
Yeah.
Like he's just so excited about it. And I love that about him that he's that excited about it. But I am too. I think it is a magical thing. I wish we had a nighttime parade in Disney World. I think we've all agreed to that, right? And then
Yeah.
I wish we had like and Festival Fantasy is good, but this one just hits different. It is just I love
Hmm.
this parade, so I'm glad to see that it's back and then in most of its normal form. Because I think when it first went
Yeah.
away, we ran some kind of headline that was like,
Done. Yeah.
yeah, like Magic Happens is the last show, gone forever, maybe. Uh, and then it wasn't. So anyway, it's nice that this is back. Let's talk. Let's finish out this week's show to talk about the boardwalk because the boardwalk's been under construction a lot, and I think we talked about it, Stephanie, with like you were saying we missed the jugglers and the acrobats and the unicycle and all the other things they used to have out there. They had Ample Hills and that went away, and then they brought in another ice cream shop and the ESPN Club was there, and then it went away. And it's been kind of a shell of itself, almost a little bit. I feel like sad, and it's still I feel like it's been under construction for a long time, but we have the Blue Ribbon Corn Dog stand is preparing for its light installation. So we'll have somebody standing by to make sure those lights get installed. But the cake bake shop, this is the one that I think this is going to be a game changer. And they put in the windows at the cake bake shop at the top. This is the old vestiges of what used to be the ESPN Club, and this is going away. And they're going to have something that's going to be sort of, it looks like a sit down restaurant slash like counter service slash catering. I don't know. It looks delicious. Anytime that you put the word cake out there, you have my full and undivided attention. Desi, would you make a special trip over to the boardwalk for the cake bake? Have you looked at any of the stuff that they have?
Yeah, I think that it looks super cute. I have a sweet tooth, so I'm in too. Like the minute you mention cake, I'm in. It looks adorable. I'm ready. And I'm ready just for, that side of the boardwalk to not look like a construction zone. So, yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and it actually, I mean, again, it looks. This is how it's going to look when it's
It
finished. But I
looks
feel like
super cute.
we've been talking about
Very
it for a
pretty.
while. Stephanie, thoughts?
Yeah, I love this idea as a mother of four girls. I'm going to be frequenting that establishment a lot, I'm sure, for their Sunday tea and brunch and that kind of thing. But if you're going to be doing a Disney wedding, if you're going to be doing anything wedding related, you're going to want to have a bridal shower there. That looks, perfect for that according to their other locations that they have in Chicago and such. And, they don't have the Grand Floridian tea room set back up. I don't know, since COVID, it's been shut down, and I wish that they would open up the Grand Floridian again and all of their extra areas that they can do this kind of thing. I think that they used to have a tea at the Rose and Crown Pub. I think on Sundays they used to have a brunch and a tea there too. So this is something that I think is kind of needed, and I think it's going to be utilized, and it looks great. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I'm really excited to see some like rebirth of that area, because it is very beautiful out there on Crescent Lake to look out over the water. The whole thing looks very nice. And as we've talked about, Big River just closed down on the other side, and the corn dog stand is shut down, and this is under construction, and it's just like, okay, can we have something? Like, why? This goes back to the whole Epcot thing. Why don't we do them one at a time? Don't even joke about corn dogs. I swear to goodness. Here's a fun question, though, is that this is the Cake Bake Shop by Gwendolyn Rogers. So when this first was announced, it was like I think end of 2022 maybe, and they started working on it, and then it was like, hey, this is coming 2023. 2024. It's coming in 2024. We're almost certain of it. And they had this picture of her out there with this cake. Where did they bake this cake? Because they didn't bake it at the Cake Bake Shop. And then they have her out there in the Florida heat with this cake in September of 2023.
It's probably not real. It's probably one of those styrofoam cakes that they just did the icing on and then sprayed hairspray on. I'm just being honest. There's no way, because it would have melted in Florida if it was real.
Yeah. All right. Well, that sound means that we have run out of time tonight. We are trying to keep it to a tight 60 minutes for everybody. So thank you guys so much for being with us. Shout out to our WIGS members, the WDWNT Interglobe Society. Thank you guys so much for being members of the family. If you want to learn more, this is our Patreon program. You can go to patreon.com/WDWNT, and our WIGS members get a post-show after this show, so we hope you will join us for that. And then also don't forget to join us on Deep in the Plus. Last Wednesday we did, Desi and I did the Echo series, and no, I got there. And so this week Patrick and I are going to be doing Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo. So we'll have a live show Wednesday night at 9 p.m. So please come back, join us. Then next Sunday, there's like some football game or something. So we're going to go ahead and take the night off and not do a show and try to go up against the biggest live event in history. Even though we went up against the Grammys tonight, we probably won. It probably wasn't even close. But
I'd rather
not
watch
against
this.
Not but not against the Super Bowl. So we will not be on next Sunday night, but we will be right back here the Sunday after that for more ParksCenter. And we hope you guys have a great week. Please be good to each other, and we will see you next time.
Bum, 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 bum.
That was beautiful.
Always
Good night, and don't swim in the rivers of America. Okay.